Peace and power, everybody. We are here with another episode of Real Eyes, Real Lives, Real News, where we amplify voices, we expose truths, and we are people of change, right? And so my name is Aisha Shaheed, and I'm so happy to be here with a great brother that I've been knowing for years. And we're here to talk about some very, very heavy and deep topic today. Um, that not is only a concern for our city of Houston, but any other community that has predominantly African American and brown people that are facing injustice in the community through community police. And so, without further ado, I'm gonna let my good brother introduce himself, Brother Rashawn.
Thank you, Aisha. My name is Rashawn. I am the co-founder and organizing director of Pure Justice. Many of you may know, some may not, but the ultimate goal of Pure Justice is to end mass incarceration. So we work to bring fairness and equity to the criminal legal system, as well as create economic opportunities for people that's easily overlooked. So some of the things that we work around is like bail reform. Nobody at all, period, point blank, ever in life should be held behind bars simply because they don't have a couple $100s in the bank. Right now, over half of the jail, like 74% of the population, is sitting pretrial. Over half of the people sitting pretrial is sitting in there with bonds of $10,000 or less. And if you know anything about bail, that means all you got to come up with is about 20% or less to get out, which means all you need is $1,000 or a couple $100s to 1,000 to get out, and they just simply don't have it. Um, Fair housing, which is a major tool to create safety, um, and then the economic opportunities. Of course, I mean, I'm the two things that anybody need to create like a safe household, safe neighborhood, safe block. Because if I don't have or can't maintain housing or a economic opportunity that pay a livable wage, I'm forced to live in survival mode. But oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. This is just introduction, right? Because I was about to keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah, yeah. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
No, it's okay though. That's super cool. And I just want to appreciate you because you've been doing so much, really boots on the ground for as long as I've been knowing you. I want to say for the past since 2017, I want to say I feel like I've been seeing you outside. So before we get into how I actually got to be knowing you and meeting you, just let the people know what life experiences led you into doing the community work and organizing that you're doing right now.
Oh, um, so I actually get that question a lot, and I can never pinpoint it. Um, to be honest with you, like I believe, in God. Like I truly believe in a higher power. Um, not binding myself to no religion, but like as far as like a higher purpose, I truly believe that. And like growing up, I just felt like I always been different. Um, Never was the same for my cousins, my homies I grew up with. I just it was just something different. But ultimately, I ended up having to move out of my mom's home in the seventh grade, middle school. I was a little boy. I had to start taking care of myself, which I can't imagine a lot of the younger kids in like seventh, eighth, ninth grade taking care of themselves. But I had to do it. I had to escape, a very rough household, I would say. I had to figure out how to take care of myself. When I first got sucked into the system, I was a 17-year-old boy behind a false accusation, inadequate counsel, and I most certainly had the right support system. It was just inappropriate for what I was dealing with the court system. The support system I had was if you mention me wrong, in a room that I wasn't in, things might get a little, but not the support system that would stand up against law enforcement or the court system for me. Plus, I didn't think I needed them. Um, and then just outside of being sucked into the system as a kid, and signing a plea deal, not because I was actually guilty of a crime, but to avoid maximum punishment, I watched how the things I thought about life wasn't really real. Like I really thought, like as long as you was a good citizen, you can make it or survive or thrive. I knew about racism, but I didn't understand that, like how predatory life was, and just to continuously watch our people, black people, suffer at the hands of the system and be stuck in positions of generational poverty and trauma, and the people with the power that actually could change certain things can't, because they stuck in traditional norms or afraid to go against white supremacy, is what put me in a position to like just want to be here and represent my people that come from the struggle in order to change stuff for them.
Wow, that's powerful. And with that being said, my first time actually meeting you and seeing you was, from what I remember, was you were at the black market and you were promoting your book, selling your book. That was many years ago. It used to be at the at HMAC, at the African American Museum, right? I believe. And so, and then from there went to the Buffalo Soldiers Museum. And so I've been seeing you um, pushing your books. And so you authored a few books. Can you tell us about them and what inspired you to write those books and the core message you want readers to walk away with from these books?
Yeah. So the first three books I've written is around the criminal legal system. Uh, they are solely about my life. I actually give people the good, the bad, the embarrassing, and the reader can actually walk through my journey of life on how I got impacted by the system as a kid,
Yeah.
and the life I had to encounter or endure, from the impacts of the system, and then to tell you how I got from having a prison number of 1953521 to wearing this red shirt. Um, the fourth book I wrote is it's very controversial, intentionally. I talk about the three tools I believe is used to control like our way of thinking, our way of life, like who we are, which is education, religion, and politics. So, and the goal of the book is not to just be controversial, but I am pushing people to think beyond traditional ways of thinking. And I want to encourage you to actually go and do some research if you have the time, instead of just taking some advice because Aisha gave it to them and they actually love and respect you, or just taking advice because it came from Roshan. Like, I want you to, like, go do some research. Like, go do some digging, some reading, and do some fact checking.
Yeah.
Don't just accept anything that's given to you, because there's a lot of generational knowledge passed down, and some of the knowledge that is passed down, we need some innovative thinking, you know, um, and we need to expand the way we actually approached like certain things that was given to us mentally.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have this stolen identity, and then your next book was the domino effect.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
we have the domino effect, the vicious cycle of injustice.
Yeah. So stolen identity, it will walk you through like my childhood,
Okay.
um, grade school, middle school, elementary, how I got in the streets, things I was doing in order to survive, the life I was living, how I got sucked into the system. Um, but stolen identity, it actually leave off on a cliffhanger, which is where I actually went to prison. I got a lot of calls about that book. They say, "Did you really leave that book off like that?" It's like, yes, I did.
Mm.
So I had to come back with the domino effect because people was curious as to how I got from this lifestyle to point A to point B, which is the red shirts. Like, how did you get there? So I had to come back with the domino
Yeah.
effect, which actually walk you through my life inside prison and then after prison. Roshan and the Camp Click is which I didn't talk about, which is the third book around the criminal legal system, but it's the same book as Stolen Identity. I just wrote it in a way that is in more of a graphic. So people who actually have a challenge reading or don't have enough time reading or just to reach like younger people, it's like a comic book.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
All right, that's cool. And check that one out. And then the following was that was is it open your mind?
that's right.
Okay.
That's around education, politics, and religion.
Okay.
Yep, yep, yep. Open your mind.
Wow.
Yep,
You've been busy, and then you have your final one, Rashawn's Journey to Justice. This is a film. This is a movie.
yep, yep. That movie is based off the film. My budget wasn't as big as I liked it to be, so um, for this movie, it's basically 90% is word from state documents. So my story only come in about like 15, 20% of the actual film, but everything else, all court scenes, all law enforcement scenes, all scenes where I'm not in the frame came straight from the investigation report, court
Wow.
transcripts, all that word for word, nothing changed. Like, yeah,
Wow, that's amazing. That's
yeah,
powerful.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you get my life. All that's this my story. All this my story.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
what was the defining moment of your experiences when you want to create pure justice? What problem were you trying to solve when you were like, okay, I'm ready to create pure justice and really push this and hit the ground, boots running?
So pure justice. To be honest, it wasn't even my idea. Um. So like Sasha Leggett, I'm a co-founder. Me and Sasha, we both co-founders. Um, she's the creative mind that put everything together. I'm the muscle that push it up the hill. But we both from Flint, Michigan. Known her since middle school. You know, she watched me throughout life. I watched her. We wasn't really friends, honestly. Actually, we didn't even talk to each other until we was like in our 20s. Um, but after I had to experience the system as a boy, and I was trying to like figure out like how to get myself together, and for the most part, I had to find my own way of living when it came to economic opportunities. Like I had to create everything for myself. Um, but while creating for myself, I was trying to set stuff up for other people around me. The way I looked at life and still do today is that no matter what I'm going through, as I move, I can reach my hand back like this for somebody, anybody who want to grab a hold to it. And as I go forward, I can bring them forward with me. So I opened up this 12 car detail shop. I'm trying to hire people who couldn't get jobs and, you know, um, just doing little stuff around the community. And while, getting my detail shop and everything together, I ended up going to prison. Um, I went to prison on a technical violation. And when I came home, I wanted to jump back into just doing what I could for people. I always been like that since a kid. I think a lot of the trouble I got to too was because I always did for other people, looking out for people, taking care of people. You can't mess with my people, whatever. But she was watching me do so much in the community that I really wasn't as effective as I could have been. And she was like, she hit me up. She like, hey, I got this idea. And I'm like, okay. And we was talking, and she had this idea, and it was around like just educating people around the criminal legal system. And I was like, man, that's smart. That's dope. I mean, and we really just started as a blog. Like, I had no idea that, you know, me being in a space of wanting to help other people would lead into, me and Sasha communicating to creating a blog to the second blog going viral to, the blog unfolding to actual like advocacy.
Right.
Everything grew in a way that I wasn't expecting. Like I wasn't expecting this. I didn't get into advocacy thinking of like a career. I wasn't looking for money. Like I remember when we first started, I'm everywhere. At this school, that event, over there, at that church. I'm speaking everywhere. They like after a while, people seeing me doing all this stuff for the kids, the youth, the high school, colleges. They like, hey man, how much you charge for this? I still to this day I tell them the same thing. It's like I don't charge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I do this anyway. You want me to come talk to the kids? I'm
Right.
coming. You want me to come talk to whatever? I'm coming. People like, man, you need to start charging them. You need to make sure you ain't doing this for free. You got a life to take care of yourself too. You. When they need to, and I'm looking at these people. I'm like, man, look, I'm not you. You
Right.
know, like I'm doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing. You know, this ain't about no quid pro quo. I ain't looking for no money. Like I'm in these spaces because I know I belong here, and whatever's meant for me will come to me. I can assure you that. And then one day, everything just changed. Everything that was meant for me came to me. And I always tell people, I know who I am right now at this very moment. I have no idea who I'm gonna be tomorrow. You know,
Yeah.
so
Wow, that's powerful. And so when we first got started, you were able to kind of elaborate on what peer justice is and kind of what y'all do and what y'all advocate for. So this in this line of work, since you started peer justice up until present day, what are some of the most common injustices you've personally seen or responded to in your work on the ground?
I responded to all kind of stuff, but I would like to talk to you about something that we've been working on for about 2 years. So, and before I even get to the 2 years, I want to say this: pure justice, like when it comes to like resources or resource in the community, yeah, you know, we gonna prioritize who we prioritize, and we ain't gotta say who we prioritize because people see who we prioritize, and it is what it is. You know, we believe in equity. We know who at the bottom of the totem pole. We know who got the most problems. We know who get impacted by the system more so than any other race and culture. You know, um, when you go inside the jail, and I don't care which jail you go into. We got three jails right across the street from each other, and in every single jail, every pod, no matter which floor, 50% of that pod is gonna be black. The other half of that pod is gonna be about like anywhere between 45 to 48% Latino. And then you're going to have sprinkles of whites and others in the jail. Now, if you look at the jail tracker, it'll actually show you that 50% is black, and then it'll show you about like 25% is Latino, and then like 23% is white, and then you'll have the sprinkles of the other. But what they're doing is they're forging the data and the statistics so you can't actually see predatory behavior,
Right.
and um, the data is false. You know, you have a lot of Latinos that they're representing as white. But anyway, um, out of everything that we do, one of the goals of pure justice is to end mass incarceration. Um, Ending mass incarceration, there's a lot of things that I wish we could touch. We don't have capacity. But
Yeah.
while figuring out, you know, best ways to navigate to minimize the interactions between community and law enforcement, which should prevent people from cycling in and out of jail, we have built out a coalition with partners, and the coalition name is called Rise. And we
Yeah.
was very intentional about that name. It stands for Reimagine Safety for Everyone. Not reimagine safety for blacks, not reimagine safety for men, not reimagine safety for the LGBTQ, not reimagine safety for poor or white people or immigrants or undocumented. It's for everybody because we understand that if you really want to service black people, if you really want to get people the relief that they need, regardless of what color they are, you have to actually abolish the problem as a whole. Like you can't make a carve out for a group of people when there's other people experiencing the same problem. Because if you make a carve out for a issue for a group of people, when it's a lot of people who have the same problem, what you're doing is creating a buffer and a band-aid that really serves no justice because the problem still exists. So we've been working to end non-safety traffic stops. And when I say non-safety traffic stops, I want to emphasize what I mean by non-safety. I mean non-moving violations. I'm talking about the citations that look like an expired tag, expired license. Your tent is too dark uh, in Houston where it gets hot as hell. I'm talking about like an air freshener hanging from your rear view mirror. Like the things that will never, ever, and could never cause danger, threat, harm, or death on the road.
Yes.
Um, so, working to end non-safety traffic stops, we have some of the smartest lawyers that went to some of the best schools around this nation that wrote this ordinance. This ordinance was not written by Rashawn, the advocate.
Yeah.
It was written by actual lawyers. All right. Now they done studied the law, the local law, to figure out like how can we set this up for it to be legal. They have done the research to understand who's mostly impacted by non-safety traffic stops, who actually goes to jail more so than others, who actually die in traffic stops more so than others, so on and so forth. And by ending non-safety traffic stops, it would give communities of color the relief that they deserve, because now law enforcement cannot have the predatory practices of just getting behind somebody because they came out of a certain zip code or black while driving or have a car that look kind of beat up to see if they can actually find something while fishing in your car with a predatory stop. We've been working on this for over 2 years. We had to share our ordinance with city council, of course, because if we want to actually make this law or ordinance, we need three of city council members to sign off on a Prop A, which puts it, before city council. But we also need 9 signatures from people that sit behind city council, and there's 16 of them, to say, I agree with this. This is something we should implement in Houston in order for it to actually become an ordinance. Did I lose you yet?
No.
Okay. So everything that goes through a Prop A and get voted on by council that need 9 votes to pass, it has to go through a process called legal. Now, we have been withholding sending the ordinance to legal because we didn't want to start the Prop A process until we actually was able to whip the 9 votes because we want to win.
Right.
We don't want to put this in front of the court if we don't have 9 votes yet.
Right.
But again, some of the smartest lawyers put this together. Now, in the process of working around ending non-safety traffic stops for everybody, council will be preparing to set up a new ordinance around minimizing the interactions around non-safety traffic stops as well. But the approach is catered to only create a buffer for people that's undocumented. So instead of addressing the issue for everybody, it's only for the undocumented people, which pins people against each other.
Right.
And this is what creates the classism, the sexism, because we have the same issue.
Right.
But yet, people are not willing to solve the issue for everybody. And I would say what's frustrating the most for my community and the people around me, as well as myself, is that when I look throughout history and I watch how hard my black people have fought on the front lines for years before I was even alive, representing everybody and their problems, trying to
Right.
make sure that they can help people get the relief that they deserve. But every single time people have the opportunity to address an issue as a whole, they carve out the black problem.
Right.
They stop fixing the problem when it start digging into the black problem. And that's where the problem come in at. And I do want to be clear. I'm not saying by no means, no way, shape, or form that the undocumented population deserve the treatment that they are receiving at the hands of law enforcement, because they don't. The undocumented population do not deserve to be stripped and ripped away from their homes or deported at the hands of ICE from the interaction they had in the minor non-safety traffic stop from law enforcement, because they don't. But at the same time, black families and poor families and every other family do not deserve to be ripped away from their families either due to a non-safety traffic stop. We all deserve relief.
Right.
Not one group over the next. We all deserve relief. And the saddest part about it, one of another sad part about it is that when you start even thinking about how people get ripped away from the household or their homes, some of us, we never return home because we get killed behind a non-safety traffic stop.
Right.
So if we're going to address something like attempting to minimize the interactions between law enforcement and community for safety purposes on both sides, we have to address the issue as a whole instead of making carve outs for one group of people as if your issues is not worthy of solving.
Right. Man, I totally agree with you. Like I stand 10 toes with you on that. That's absolutely true. And so with that being said, what do you think is broken in the current approach to traffic stops? What is HPD? What is Harris County? What are they doing that's just not the correct approach when handling these situations? What do you think is going through their minds when they are even making these stops? And why they turn such a simple stop into such a aggressive situation that doesn't have to be?
Well, I'll say this. I don't know how old you are. I ain't gonna ask, but I do know ain't neither one is
Oh, I think I lost you.
let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, good. So what I was saying was some people parents are literally children of plantation owners. You know what I'm saying? So like if your parents owned slaves and it was actually hard to if it was actually hard, I'm on a podcast. If you just give me a moment, bringing that stuff in. I'm sorry, y'all. If your parents is Mike, can y'all just give me a moment? I bring that stuff in. I'm sorry, y'all. Um, if if you the kid of a plantation owner or a racist, then this is part of the problem because racism is not going nowhere. Like it's embedded into people's minds. Like every system we interact with on a daily basis is embedded out of white supremacy, and the only way to step in front of white supremacy, outside of fighting, or the only way to prevent white this had occurred that people can use to discretion or be discretionary says, I'm gonna say, I'm telling you, you can still do this if you want to, whatever that is, but you don't have to. And if racism and biases is gonna be a part of the equation, then you know, prevention will never be because people feel the way they feel about you because of, the way they feel about you, whether your skin too dark, you know, your color, or you poor, you came from a particular family. So the only way to prevent something is to create preventative laws. Like discretionary laws only get black, brown, and poor people jail. Discretionary get black, brown, and poor people prison. It get us citations that we sometimes can't afford that ultimately turns into warrants that takes us back to jail. And now discretion today even gets people deported. We have to take away discretion.
This is deep. It's really deep when you really get into it. It's really really deep, and people are only kind of really seeing it on the surface level. So, well, this is powerful. Thank you so much, Rashawn. And my next question, I'm glad you tapped on it. What are some real actionable solutions, both the policy level and within the community, we can do that can reduce these dangerous escalations and create a safer outcome for everyone?
Yeah. I think that when it comes to reducing, or changing policies and laws, we do need like more innovative thinkers, to be elected to like local government as well as state and federal. Um, I think we have too many people running on traditional politics because they understand the base of people that regularly comes out.
Right,
And out of the people that register to vote, and then you like look at the percentages of the people that actually turn out to vote, what you will see, no matter what city you in, no matter what state you in, that a lot of people just don't vote. And they don't vote because they don't believe in politics. They don't vote because people not speaking their language. They don't vote because they feel like it going they want to do anyway. They just politics so much instead of being who they telling people there, moving. If people elected officials or elected officials actually operated fashion of I'm gonna stand on what's right. I'm gonna stand on making sure that every policy, law, ordinance, whatever got my name on it is catered to the people that need the most resources instead of operating in a traditional sense of politics. Ultimately, what'll happen is they would tap into an untapped voting potential block that of people that been literally sitting back on the sidelines saying, I'm not participating. I'm only registering because Rashawn registered me. But if somebody actually starts speaking my language, I'm coming out. Like if people actually start like talking about, the things that matter to the most vulnerable, like decriminalizing poverty. Okay, what does that look like? That means, uh, ending non-safety traffic stops, or it looked like decriminalizing, some of the sex work, or decriminalizing, Lord, what's a crime? If you go and it's encouraged to create traditional ways of living. The people that would normally not come out to vote would. You start talking about eliminating student loan debt relief. Watch how many students start coming out voting. You talk
right.
about legalizing marijuana. Watch how many people start coming out voting. You
Right.
talk about removing the box on a job application that ask about a background when these people trying to survive. Watch how many people start coming out voting.
Right.
You start characterizing safety in the frame of resources and access. Watch how many people start coming out to vote.
Yeah, it's true. And I also think also in our community, a lot of people don't show up because they have this mentality as if they voted, nothing got done before. What's the purpose? What's the reason? People have given up, and some people only have voted one time in their life, and because they didn't get the result that they wanted, they just completely gave up on voting. They don't feel like it's going to do anything. So, what do you say to the people like that? Because there's a lot of people in our community that think like that. Oh, it's not going to happen. Oh, it doesn't matter. Nothing's going to get passed. So, what do we say to those people who are thinking pessimistically, and that's actually hindering us from getting to where we need to go?
Yeah, it's so many moving parts. I can't even say I blame some of them. Like when I look at the elected officials, people who aspire to be or people that's running, excuse my language, but the bullshit. The bullshit. Like
They're taking our innovative ideas. They're taking our ideas, calling them innovative, and going to get funding for them. And you'll see your idea somewhere going on in the city, and they got $100,000 for it, and you don't see one dime of that, nor does your community see not $1 of that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I tell you one thing though, when it comes to voting, this go round, I done made this comment on social media a couple times. I got a little backlash for it. But I did what I did. I encouraged nobody. But this year, this time, this upcoming election, I'm most certainly encouraging it. I'm not voting down ballot. I'm
Yeah,
not encouraging nobody to vote down ballot just because general election, if people, your policies, if your is not, off to those with, I'm not encouraging nobody to vote for you. I don't care if you're the only Democrat on the ticket. If I got to vote for 10 people out of 79, it's only 10 people getting my vote. Because just because you made it to the last round, to the November race,
right.
don't mean you deserve or
To have a
entitled to the
Yeah,
black vote.
yeah.
If you're not catering your policies to us, we not voting for you. Period.
Absolutely. My good brother, we're almost close coming to the end. So I want you to talk about, again, Rise Houston, what's coming up with you in the community, and how can people support what you have going on?
So on Tuesday will be City Council. It's the night court. It's gonna start at 6 o'clock. Now, um, we are for access. We are for resourcing communities. We know that's how you create a safe community. Um, and what we are asking people to do is just go talk to your elected officials. Go talk to city council. Let them know, how you feel about safe traffic. Um, if we're gonna address the issue, we have to address as an entire for everybody. When you separate issues by you pin each other as if I'm more important than you, and or I'm better than you, or it's setting people up for classism. The goal for Tuesday is to just let elected officials know, like, hey, black people been getting left behind, for centuries. And we don't want to be left behind this time. Like, if we're really going to do this, let's do this together for everybody. And I do want to emphasize again, like, this is not saying that we don't want the undocumented population to get the relief that they well deserve, because we do. The
Right.
thing is, just as they deserve the relief like yesterday, black people too. Just like the undocumented population cannot wait until tomorrow for some kind of relief, black people can't
You
wait
can't
either.
either.
And we all need relief. So we need people to
Mhm.
turn up to city council. That's 901 Bagby, Houston, Texas. Show up at 6 o'clock. If you want to sign up to speak, you're going to have to sign up on Monday before 3 p.m. And
Uh-oh, you broke up, brother. You froze on me.
yeah, I don't know what
Okay, the last thing I heard you say was Monday at Bagby, 901
yep.
Bagby.
Yep, City Hall is Tuesday at 6 p.m. If you want to speak, you have to sign up on Monday before 3 p.m. Just go to the City Hall website, sign up to speak. They'll give you the website. You're gonna send an email, just let them know you want to speak for, and then they're gonna ask you for how many minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes. You're gonna give them your name, your address, your phone number. But be aware, if you sign up to speak to end non-safety traffic stops, you can expect a phone call from the Houston Police Department, which I look at it as a sign of intimidation. So if you get a call from the Houston Police Department because you signed up to speak on ending non-safety traffic stops, just be aware you might get that phone call.
Wow. Okay. All right, my dear brother, that is very powerful. I appreciate you for making time. I know you're busy to be on this podcast. I have one final closing question for you on this subject. What is your message to the people of Houston, especially in the Black and Brown communities and everybody, about knowing their rights, protecting themselves, and pushing for change?
Well, no matter how good you are, no matter how and what's right, you're not subject to the freedom or the relief that you deserve, especially if you are black, if you are brown, if you are poor, if you are undocumented. Racism is alive and well, and if we truly want change, we must stand up together. We have to stand up together in unison with some synergy around crimmigration because together we can. As long as we allow them to divide us through issues by race, y'all already heard the slogan divide and conquer. So, like when you see it, be aware, but stand firm. You say, look, I am walking with my brothers and sisters, and you're not getting to them unless you go through me. And if we all standing firm with each other, it puts us in a stronger position, and people would think twice before they challenge us in certain ways. And it will also be easier to create the changes in policy that we need when we stand together. Um, don't give up. You can, and just keep living, keep surviving, keep standing with yourself, and don't use the excuse that you got to get yourself or you do something.
Uh-oh, you froze again, my brother. Okay, I heard you though. Man, I appreciate you so much. Thank you again, Brother Rashawn, for just being who you are. You know who you are, and you've been doing that. And I appreciate you seeing you. It was also an honor for my organization to honor you at our first Black Gala Award show and ceremony to Pure Justice. Y'all been doing so much amazing work, a lot of community engagement, a lot of celebration and honoring. Y'all have got some really great wins during this journey too as well. So thank you again so much. Thank everybody for viewing another episode of Real Eyes, Real Lives, Real News, and we will see you again next week. Peace and love. Stay on the back end for me, Brother Rashawn.